Hi everyone, and welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today I am refinishing this old 100-year-old pine wood door. It has been a total restoration job on this. I've had to redo the hardware. I had to strip like 4 layers of multiple varieties of paint. There was latex, there was oil-based paint, there was probably lead-based paint underneath. It was just so hard to get off. Let me tell you, there's a whole separate video on this. Wow, I tried, and I even tested products I had tried before. I tried wood stripper Citrus Shine. I used the real old-fashioned stuff that my mom used to use back in the day. Zip strip, that stuff is harsh. It was so harsh, it took the varnish off of this 100-year-old floor before I refinished the floor. For this last part, I took it outside and I finally got it stripped. That being said, little tiny bits, very little bit was left in the crevices, and I'm finding this drywall wood block works really good. Not wood block, sanding block. It is for finishing drywall. It's got a coarse side and a smooth side, and this works really good for getting into those corners and edges that the sandpaper couldn't. I've already gone over this with my disc sander. I've done my finish sanding, and now it's time for touch-up work and getting it coated with a new layer of stain and polyurethane. Now, when I redid these wood floors, I only put a clear Varathane over the top, and the doors we didn't have to redo. This is the only one in the whole house that was painted, so they're all kind of that orangey tint. Not a huge fan of it. There is a product called Howard's Restore Finish, and you can kind of go over these and refresh them to give them a darker coat. However, the woodwork in the entire house is like that. So it's more of a job than just the doors. My main obstacle is just trying to get this out of its natural state and coated and finished with something. So as you can see on the floor, I've already been sanding a little bit. I just had a very few little tiny pieces in the corners like that. That's real hard to get into. But here, this is like a routed edge. You can see it real good right here. It is a raised panel, or it's recessed here and then raised here. So you gotta keep that detail, and the edge of this block going in here where I have little teeny tiny bits of paint is working out really good. There were some areas that the scraping process of that last paint removal left it a little rough, so this is really good for smoothing that out to get that fine finish in the detail. So I've got a couple little more spots I want to work out here and here, and this little groove was the hardest one to get, and you can see there's that original pink paint and white paint. So this already has 2 layers of paint off of that, so I'm hoping to be able to sand through that and get this ready for a finish in the next few minutes. So I've been testing and trying out different colors of stains and combinations of stains for this project. I have the Howard's Restore Finish in walnut. This is not as strong as regular finish. It is more or less like for touch-ups and repairs on like watermarks. So like you see there, the lady's got a little watermark on her table she's trying to clean up. I've used this just as a quick refresher on old antique furniture in the past, and it works really good. That being said, we're going down to bare wood on this, so it is soaking it up quite a bit. I was real low on the walnut color, and the mahogany is too dark, too red. I also have this General Finishes Java Gel Stain, and this stuff is almost black. I am going to possibly use this as a touch-up over spots. There's a crack in the door, and the paint settled into that crack, and it will not come out. So I can just real lightly like make a line over that and then blend it, because you will be able to see that white line from the first application of paint that was ever put on it. On my floors, I have a floor varnish or finish. Now I have used teak oil and tung oil in the past with really good finish and good results, even on old oak floors that just needed a refreshing because they didn't need a full sanding and makeover. So I'm going to use the Minwax tung oil finish on my final coat. This is real nice to use because I don't have to worry about reapplying on the same day. When you do varnish finishes, you have to either recoat it in a certain amount of time, usually it's like 4 to 6 hours, and The other option is to lightly scuff sand in between layers. With the tung oil, I can just put it on quickly and keep going. So I'm using the Restore Finish with the walnut. I added a little bit of mahogany in it. Let me turn this camera around and show you how it's turning out. So I've gone over a lot of the finish of the door, and I may need to do a second layer because it's soaking it up so much. But like I said, on the floor, I only did clear. I didn't do a color. So I think I will probably be able to get the color I want just with this, and then adding the tung oil as a finish layer over the top. Now I'm just using an old sock, and it's like a cotton poly blend sock. Old t-shirts and things like that work really great for these kinds of projects because you can really get in those areas. And as you can see, I'm not wearing gloves for this kind of project. I'm not worried about my manicure. This is the kind of stuff that I do every day. My other work is farming, so it's not a big deal. You can clean this off of your hands with acetone or denatured alcohol, which I do have on hand. So I'm just really getting this in. You may choose to do this outside. The odor is not very strong at all. And I had this door off last week, and I'm going to be finishing this close to dark. So I figured I might as well work on it inside and not take it back off again, just to save time. So I'm actually going to come back to this panel right here. I notice now that I'm down low that there's still a little bit paint right in there. The goal is not to make this look like a brand new door. That's not where I'm at. I will be selling this house probably within this calendar year. And I don't want to sell a house that looks like on a first walkthrough that it needs a lot of repairs or updates. If somebody wanted to come in here and paint this all white, all my work is for nothing. And they may. I did that at my last house, but everything was plywood and hollow core doors. So I did some updating on that house on my own just to make it look a little more modern. This house is not a modern house in any way, so I think just having it look original and clean should be the goal. Now, if you wanted to, you could brush this on. I am simply pouring it directly onto the rag and rub it in both directions of the grain. See how that pattern is like that? It's like an arrow. It's serving as a direction for you to put that in. It's hard to follow here in the sides, so I break that rule to get it in. And you can use a real fine detail brush to get right in the creases if you like. Remember, the only expectation in this is that you're putting it on yourself. And my expectation is that I wanted the paint off of this door and I want to make it look nice. So I think I've succeeded at doing that. You see I'm just rubbing it on. If you were to put this on a brush, you would want to probably use longer strokes and then rub it in afterwards because this is a rub-on product. But you see how instantly you get that gratification of the color change. Gel stain dries and it kind of goes on like paint. My experience with it, I've done a few, it works really good in hiding mistakes or changing the color of something without getting down to bare wood. but it also acts like paint and it hides all that natural wood grain. So I'm just gonna go around now. I've got the whole complete door done and try to get in any of these little crevices that I can. The clear coat will get in there. I just don't want anything highly pronounced in a color difference, if you know what I mean. Now, when I redid my hardware, I took my hardware off and I put it through a benchtop grinder with a wire wheel attachment. It all looked kind of black and copperish. And I started kind of looking into a lot of it, and it was just the natural aged patina of the hardware. And I'll tell you, it was not a great easy match to try to get replacements. If your door doesn't have the hardware, you can get hardware from antique shops. I check on Facebook Marketplace, I check Craigslist. People a lot of times will take these doors off and discard them. These doors all have been trimmed a bit at the bottom for carpet at some point, but it is easier to add a threshold to, and a lot less expensive, to the floor than to go ahead and replace the doors for that reason. So I think it is just looking majestic. I absolutely love this. It was a fight. I had this project on hold for over a year and came back to it. I had other projects to do in the summertime. I started it in the wintertime, and then I came back to it the following winter. And that drywall sanding block was exactly what I needed for these edges. So it's going on real nice and even. It's great. Now, if you wonder about my background in this, my husband bought this house probably 2 or 3 years after we met. We were still dating at the time, and this was his first rental house, my first project. I always just came and helped him. I wanted to be with him, and this is what he was doing. So I kind of got pushed into becoming a landlord and a maintenance person, and I never minded it because the money you save in doing this work on your own is tremendous. We are able to retire at an early age. We were able to get out of the city and buy a land farm with lots of land, and now we're hay farmers. So you have to think about what are your goals in your projects. Now, this might not be a project I would have taken on with it being rented. I actually did the purple tannish colored paint over the top because the door trim had been painted and somebody else had painted it. And back then, I wasn't doing this kind of work. I took wood shop in high school for 4 years. We had to learn furniture refinishing. I think we built a gun rack in middle school. They wouldn't let girls into a lot of the shop classes. You could cook and sew, or you could take wood shop. And I opted for the wood shop because it was something that I could do, and nobody told me then I could do this as a career or something for my whole life. And it took 30 years out of high school to realize this is what I want to do. So when this house is done and any of our other rental houses are done, I'm going to buy a house just to flip. So everything on the second floor of this house is original. They didn't do much, but this lower level of the house, this doorway out of this bedroom used to be here going into the kitchen, and I don't know why they didn't reuse the old door, but it's also a smaller opening for some reason. It had a terrible like 70s hollow core door, and I was able to pick up a similar door. This is a solid pine door that is not in a frame, so I can reuse the old hardware. We were lucky there on this door. The original hardware is here, so I am looking for a matching knob or maybe something similar. The bathroom was added, we're assuming maybe in, I don't know, the 50s, maybe sooner, hollow core door. And I'd really like to take this off because, like I said, it was a rental at one point. It's received some battle damage. And at some point, you see these screws here, somebody wanted to add a towel rack and they didn't quite know what to do. These are actually curtain holders, so this has to come off. So rather than take this out and have holes in the doors, I found a set of 3 of those doors. And the basement was the same way, a hollow core door. And we wanted to give the house some character, get rid of that and give it an aged look. And it was really hard to find anything close to me. I think especially during winter, people aren't thinking about cleaning out their garages and basements. But like I said, fortunately, I was able to find doors. I found 3 doors, all exactly in the size that I need. These are solid wood doors. So you have the benefit that you can actually trim it and make it shorter, where in a hollow core door, you've only got about 2 inches on the side, and then it's a veneer over the top, and that is why it's called hollow core. It's just got cardboard strips on the inside, acting as spacers while they're building the door up. So this can be cut to any shape or size that we need. So we know that we're gonna have to probably trim off a little bit here because this floor has been added to a couple of times. But these are all good things to know in working with doors in your old house. So the thing that I like most about this tung oil is you just rub it on. It's pretty much no fussing about it. You can touch it up with just another coat, like I said, my oak floors that I previously did. Just clean them real good, let them dry, apply a coat of this. You can recoat in 24 hours. It's not necessary, but you just apply it. Now, if you were to brush it on and let it set, they recommend applying it and then buffing it out after about 10 minutes. I have literally put this on, just rubbing it on with a cloth and walking away and not doing anything else. It doesn't really need to be buffed to a shine or anything like that. It doesn't dry super shiny. It doesn't dry matte. I would say it's right about a satin finish. Definitely not a gloss. And again, it's not a super strong odor. If you were to do your whole house with this, like I had done on the floor, you might want to have some good ventilation and walk away for a day. Kind of gives things that woodworking new house smell. And same thing, clean up, denatured alcohol, acetone. This is really good for lawn furniture also. If you have teak, patio, tables, chairs, Adirondack chairs. So last year, I got to try the teak oil. And the teak oil was slightly different. It applied exactly the same, but it had a little bit of a gummy texture. So that's why I like this so well. And the only reason I tried the teak oil is they were sold out of this, and I needed about 4 bottles. I buy the quart jars. This is an old tag from Home Depot, $17. It's probably about $20 now. So you see, it just gives it a nice finish that's going to also match the other doors instead of it looking like a new high gloss finish and mismatching the other doors. So you get the idea. I'm going to go ahead and finish this door, and we'll take a look at it after it's all dry and do a compare and contrast of the other doors in the house.